For years, we've been told that bread makes you gain weight, raises your blood sugar, and causes inflammation. It's not good for your health, and if you can, you should cut it out completely. But there's one point that almost no one talks about. A very small change that has nothing to do with the type of bread, the amount, or even what time you eat it. A very simple action that can completely change how your body reacts to bread. Today, we want to talk about the significant impact of frozen bread. Before we truly understand why freezing bread changes everything, we first need to know what the underlying health issues with bread are for so many people in the first place. It's not just about calories, and it's not just about gluten either. The main issue is how the body digests the starch in bread. When you eat freshly baked bread, particularly white or highly refined varieties, the starch content is rapidly converted into glucose. This causes a sharp spike in blood sugar. The body responds by releasing insulin, and if this keeps happening repeatedly over time, it can lead to problems like insulin resistance, feeling hungry soon after eating, fat storage, and a constant sense of fatigue. That is why many people feel that bread makes them feel unwell, causes bloating, or makes them uncomfortably sleepy. This feeling isn't imaginary, it is a real metabolic reaction in the body. This is exactly where an important concept comes into play that changes the entire story. Resistant starch. Not all starches function in exactly the same manner within the human body. A significant portion of starch can resist digestion in the small intestine and eventually travel into the large intestine, remaining almost intact and unchanged. When this happens, it doesn't quickly turn into glucose, it doesn't raise blood sugar, and at the same time, it becomes food for the beneficial bacteria in the gut. And this is where an important point comes in. The process of freezing a loaf of bread significantly increases the amount of resistant starch. This is certainly not just a simple myth or a common belief, but rather it is a widely recognized and documented biochemical phenomenon, known as starch retrogradation. When bread is baked, its starch becomes gelatinized and is digested very easily. But when bread undergoes the cooling process, and especially when it is frozen, a large part of its starch changes its structure, becoming more compact and stable, which makes it much harder for digestive enzymes to break it down. The fascinating result is that when you eat bread that has been placed in a freezer for a period of time and then properly thawed, part of its starch no longer behaves like a rapidly digested simple carbohydrate. Instead, it acts much more like dietary fiber. Consequently, the exact same bread with the same ingredients can have a remarkably different physiological effect on the human body. One of the most interesting effects of frozen bread is on blood sugar. Various studies have shown that bread that has been previously frozen raises blood sugar much more gently compared to fresh bread. This means less of a blood sugar spike, less need for insulin, and a more stable feeling of energy after eating. For individuals who have insulin resistance, are pre-diabetic, or frequently suffer from an energy crash after meals, this can really make a substantial difference. It doesn't make bread a miracle food, but it does make it much less aggressive for your metabolism. Another lesser-known effect of resistant starch is its impact on satiety. Because it is digested at a much slower pace, frozen bread usually helps you maintain a feeling of fullness for longer throughout the day. This can help you unconsciously reduce your food intake without forcing yourself or feeling deprived. Many people find that with frozen bread, they no longer crave seconds or snack mindlessly soon after. It is not because of a lower intake of calories, but rather because the body is receiving a different metabolic signal. This is where things get even more interesting. Resistant starch functions very much like a prebiotic, meaning it serves as essential food for the beneficial and healthy bacteria living in your gut. These bacteria ferment that starch and produce vital short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which are directly associated with the promotion of better gut health, reduced levels of inflammation, and significantly improved intestinal barrier function. For those who experience heavy digestion, bloating, or irregular bowel movements, this change becomes noticeable over time. It's not immediate, but it's real. If this kind of information helps you understand your body better and eat more intelligently, know that the most important part is right here. It's not all that simple though. The way you choose to freeze and then later consume your bread can actually eliminate many of these health benefits. The best way is to freeze the bread when it is fresh, rather than waiting until it is already stale and hard. It is better to freeze it in slices so you do not have to defrost any more than you actually need at one time. The bread should be wrapped, preferably inside a tightly sealed bag, so it does not dry out or suffer from freezer burn. After that, either let it thaw gently or toast it directly. Gently toasting the bread does not destroy the resistant starch, but ensure it doesn't get burnt. You also shouldn't reheat the bread multiple times or refreeze it, because its structure will get ruined. Although freezing white bread also improves it, the best results come from long fermented breads, real whole grain bread, or sourdough bread. These breads naturally have a more complex structure, more fiber, and are digested more slowly, and their positive effects become even stronger when frozen. The goal isn't to eat more bread, the goal is to choose and prepare it more wisely. A common mistake is to think that any frozen bread is automatically healthy. That's not true. If the bread is ultra processed, full of added sugar, refined flour, and low quality oils, freezing won't save it. Another mistake is eating it with things that spike your blood sugar, like jam, sweet foods, or sausages and cold cuts. The context of the meal matters. Frozen bread works best when eaten alongside protein and healthy fats. Frozen bread can be an interesting option for those who don't want to cut out bread but want to reduce its negative effects. It's also helpful for people looking to improve their metabolic health without resorting to extreme diets. Of course, if you have specific digestive issues or intolerances, you should always monitor how your body reacts. Not all bodies respond the same way, but most people can clearly feel the difference. For a long time, we've been led to believe that health only comes from cutting out foods, but often real change is in how we eat. Freezing bread doesn't turn it into a superfood, but it does prove something very important. The way food is prepared can completely change its effect on the body. When you understand this, you gain the power to choose choices that are smarter, more sustainable, and more real. Because taking care of your health means awareness, not restriction, and when you know your body, you eat better without being afraid of food. Thank you for staying with me until the end of the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Watch these videos too for more information. Until the next video, take care